Welcome to Fort Worth 148's podcast, where we meet to discuss Masonic topics and strive to build value in the Brotherhood. The opinions and statements of the participants do not represent any positions or stance of any Grand Lodge or Lodge and are solely the viewpoints of the participants. Welcome back to the podcast, brothers. This is Rhit Moore, past master of Fort Worth 148. Watch it, Billy. Jumping the gun, buddy.
So yeah, that go ahead, Billy. It's like I'm going ahead of everybody else.
Know your role.
And who are you?
This is Billy Hamilton, past master of Fort Worth 148.
And this is Gabe Yagish, past master and marshal of Fort Worth Lodge number 140, AF and AM, located in beautiful Fort Worth, Texas. And we're talking MasoniCon again, folks.
Festive Board.
Right. So we're doing a series of minisodes and that we're going to release here. And this is the second of two parts about MasoniCon. We have a third minisode planned that's not related. But we're going to talk about the Festive Board, right? So last minisode was all about Saturday of Texas MasoniCon. And that is Texas MasoniCon proper, right? If you have, if you attend the Saturday, we're super happy to see you. But there's something we do on Friday night before. And it's real special. We have a Festive Board on Friday night before Texas MasoniCon begins. So it's a special environment. If you've never been to a Masonic Festive Board, it's a lot of fun. The most simple explanation of what a Festive Board is that it is a very nice dinner with a toasting program accompanied usually by a guest speaker of some kind. Not always, but usually, right? So Fort Worth Lodge has a Festive Board that we use, periodically throughout the year, and we ended up adapting it for Texas MasoniCon. We did not do one the first year because it just didn't come to us as an idea. And after we executed the first MasoniCon and we began planning the second MasoniCon for 2019, we thought about it and said, man, wouldn't this be cool if we did this? And we put on the first Festive Board for MasoniCon, and it was kind of a hit. People really liked it. Of course, then we got hit by the pandemic 2 years in a row, right?
Uh-huh.
We had our first Festive Board post-pandemic last year. And of course, we're having another one this year. So,
man, I think about Festive Boards in general, and there are so many that I can just visualize who and name off who was sitting next to me. Some of the things we talked about, because some of the hardest laughs I've gotten in there, some serious, profound epiphanies, if you will, I've had at Festive Boards, but the fellowship, it's off the charts. Right. There's just something about sitting down and breaking bread, and having that opportunity to really open up with people around you.
Well, when you think about it, I mean, in almost every culture, having dinner with someone is almost like a ritual in itself to become closer.
Yeah.
Whether it's with family or friends, I think it's embedded in our cultural DNA going back to the beginning of history.
Well, let me tell you what.
I was going to say, we just have to look at the idea of breaking bread, right? Bread and salt, and the right of guests and the right of hospitality.
Yeah.
Because traditionally, once you sat down, and it's gotten really popular in the cultural lens because of Game of Thrones, for example, but this is a historical deal. Once somebody sat down as a guest with you in your castle or your home, or whether you were a peasant living in a hovel or a king in a castle, once somebody sat down and broke bread with you and shared a meal with you, you were responsible for them, right?
Yeah.
So to eat dinner with we don't think about it this way, right? But Festive Board tries to capture this spirit and this idea that eating a meal with somebody is very special, to the point where it's almost a sacred act, right?
Well,
and that's one of the things we're trying to recapture.
Yeah, I mean, look at if you read 1001 Arabian Nights, right? It's mentioned in there a couple of times. It even goes back to there's biblical stories about that. That if you broke bread with someone and if they came to your tent or your home, what have you, and you were the host, that guest that you ate with and that you shared salt with, you broke bread with, you were responsible for them at the risk of your own life, if necessary, to ensure their safety and protection. It was a sacred act. It was very much a bond that you created in that moment. And so we invite you all to come down, and we will be the host and you will be our guest, and let's create those bonds.
And the first year when we had it at Joe T. Garcia's was fun, but the atmosphere of that asylum, the top floor there at the temple, there's nothing like it. Because I remember last year there was conversations going on all over, and I just kind of sat quiet for a second, and you could hear your thoughts. You could hear the person next to you. There was no issue with conversations at all. There was no better environment for a festive board than that room. Of course, the ambiance. I mean, if it's not top 5, it's top 10 most beautiful rooms in Texas Masonry. I mean, it's up there. It's a must-see kind of room for when it comes to Texas Masonic architecture. The whole building.
Yeah.
Right. And so let's talk about this year's Festive Board, right? So we're having it in the asylum again, right? And we're using the same caterers that we have previously, because they have been a huge hit, and we use them for almost all of our lodge functions. And one of the things that we love about our caterers is that they provide, kind of regular meeting meals, but they also provide options for really high-end meals. And so that's what we're going with this year, right? And one of the things that we talked about was post-pandemic, all the pricing is different, right? Even stuff like discussing the price of meat is totally different, right? So it's going to be in the asylum. It's going to be a really cool event. The food is, of course, going to be super high-end like usual. And we have a special program for that evening. In the past, we've done talks, we've done poetry, and this year the team has talked about it, and we want to do probably like 2 poetry readings, short ones, intermittently between toasts. But the main program of the evening is something that we've been calling the Ceremony of 7 Luminaries, and it was a ceremony. It's a solemn candlelighting ceremony written by our past Grand Master, Jewel Preston Lightfoot, and Billy found it in Lightfoot's private papers, written in pen on a scrap piece of paper, and it was never published in anything until this year. And you're going to get to see a live demonstration of that candlelighting ceremony only at the Texas MasoniCon Festive Board this year. This will be the first time it's ever been done, so we're super excited about it. Billy, do you want to tell us about this candlelighting ceremony and how you found it, and kind of give us an overview about what it's about?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I had the incredible privilege to be the general manager for the Grand Lodge Library Museum of Texas, when I was sorting through kind of the special collections room, I found a couple of nondescript boxes, right? And the only thing they said on it was Joe P. Lightfoot. And so I remember pulling them out and opening them up, and there was an incredible wealth of papers in there, several hundred pages. Some were typed, a lot were handwritten. Um, And so as I started going through them and collecting material, so I'm sure most of you are aware of the fact that they have been published now, and they are available in the book, Ancient Mysteries and Modern Masonry. But those are from those papers that were in the special collection. And amongst those, so it was fantastic. As I was going through them, there was a theme that Joel P. Lightfoot was putting together in these papers that he had written. And it was following what he believed to be the transmission of the symbols in the esoteric meaning of Masonry, traveling back through time, going all the way back to the ancient Brahmin culture. And so he sees the origins of the symbolism that we use in that, tracing it forward to the Chaldeans, to the Egyptians, to the ancient Hebrews, and from there through the through the dispersion of the Hebrew throughout Europe, it English Masonry, and that's how we get it today. Crap. Okay, and that was all stream of consciousness, so I'm not sure exactly where I was.
Oh, if you want to go ahead and just restart the question or the answer, then I'll just kind of appropriately.
Okay. Well, and actually, I was wondering as I was saying it, did I go too much into exposition?
No, you're fine.
Okay. So a couple of years ago, I had the privilege, the great privilege of being the general manager for the Grand Lodge Library Museum of Texas down in Waco. And there was I called it the special collections area, but there's an area behind a door that has a lot of material. A large number of it has not been categorized. Some of it has, but there were two boxes on a shelf that I found that the only marking they had on them that I could see from the outside was Joel P. Lightfoot. And so I pulled those boxes out, and I was looking through them, and there was some marvelous papers in there, several hundred pages of material that were written by Joel P. Lightfoot. Some of it was typewritten, a lot of it was handwritten, and there was content in there on all sorts of subjects. The Looking through the papers, I was able to condense through a history that he gave in a series of about 10 talks that actually, believe it or not, was given at the Fort Worth Scottish Rite Club when it was still part of the Dallas Valley. And it traced a line of transmission for Masonic symbolism going into the remote past that he wrote, and he presented the ideas that he believed showed that there was this unbroken line of transmission that carries through into modern masonry today. So it started with the Brahmin culture in the ancient, the ancient Indus Valley culture, and that ancient India was the origin of many of these concepts. These concepts were then transmitted to the Chaldeans. The Chaldeans, in turn, transmitted them to the ancient Egyptians. Moses, being an Egyptian prince who led the Hebrews out of captivity into ancient Israel. So as a result, a lot of these concepts were taken with the ancient Hebrews. And then the Hebrews, in turn, as they spread throughout the world, after the various calamities and other issues that befell the ancient Israelites, they carried these symbols in this esoteric nature into what eventually became continental masonry in Europe, in English masonry. So putting all these together, it created almost like a story that was carried out over about 10 chapters or so of this transmission. And in the midst of all those papers too, there were 2 handwritten papers that had this ceremony where a candle was lit as it was dedicated to a personage. Now, a lot of them are, well, I would say a couple of them are religious personages. Some of them are of import to Masonry, but they all harken back to that series of presentations that he gave of the transmission of the symbolism of Masonry. And so it felt like the perfect way to end the book um, that I just recently edited and published, Ancient Mysteries and Modern Masonry. It seemed like the perfect end note, that after reviewing all of these different steps that Joel P. Lightfoot walks us through for this symbolism, that it would give credence to those ancient cultures and those ancient personages in those stories in this special solemn ceremony. And so for the first time that I'm aware of, because I'm not sure if he ever performed this during his lifetime, but the first time I'm aware of, we are actually going to walk through that and perform it.
Man, that's gonna be awesome. So you didn't get this from a Ouija board like you told me?
No.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha.
Rhit, I know I got to keep you, I got to get you excited about a couple of things. So,
Man, I don't know why he makes me go really woo, but Joel P. Lightfoot, and he probably, in my mind, that I have him built up to be like busting out tarot cards, and all this. He was just super into all the different facets of mystery.
For the time, he was king of woo,
Oh yeah.
And I don't say that disrespectfully, because
like,
Masonry needs people, in the same way that we need people who are in the authentic school of research. We need people who are in the romantic school of research, right?
Yeah.
Or at least the romantic school of study. And that includes the really far out woo stuff, and that's one of the things that makes Masonry fun.
So the interesting thing though is, this is very much in the romantic school, right? But he makes a very concerted effort. He tries to tie it in with what at the time, right? This was written in the 20s, 30s, some of it in the 40s. He tries to tie it into were contemporary cutting edge theories in sociology, linguistics. So he adds some science to it. We can read through it and decide for ourselves, whether it hits the mark, or maybe it's a little bit more romantic than we would like. But he ties it into a lot of scientific literature of the time.
Yeah. I think about that all the time, because it's hard to remove all the distractions we have, especially now with the phone in my freaking pocket. But just TV and computers alone, you take all that out, and really and truly, even creature comforts like air conditioner and things like that, you start taking all that out, it has to equal more time to, if you well enough off and had money like Joel P. Lightfoot had, contemplative time. Like, what else are you going to do? There's only so many games of backgammon and chess you can play before you just sit on your back porch and think. And that seems so scary nowadays, that word, just sitting there thinking, just in your own head. It's like, was that my Facebook dinging?
Yep.
Yeah. The very cool thing I found was with his papers, Joel P. Lightfoot had a notebook in there, and it was actually an address book. So it was labeled A through Z,
I remember you showing me this.
Yeah, and in there, you could tell this man was always reading, and he was always thinking, and he was making notes to himself. And so he would categorize, right? So like if he found something interesting about the Babylonians, he would go to B, write down Babylonians, and write down the book that he found that material in that he would like to reference later.
That's
Jesus
literally
of Nazareth.
Google in a notebook.
Yeah, and it's
Genius.
a good couple of hundred pages of just, and it's not, some of the pages are lighter than others,
Mhm.
but to see his process, right, as he read through this copious amounts of material. There are hundreds of books at the Grand Lodge Library that were donated by Joel P. Lightfoot from his personal library. And to see the fact that he actually read and made notes, right? It shows that this person, there's a reason that he was such a good attorney. There's a
Yeah.
reason he was Attorney General of the state of Texas, is because this man could read through a lot of material and pull things from it and then use it to make a comprehensive argument.
Yeah. I mean, that really humanized him for when you show me that notebook. And I think about it all the time still, about how it shows how curious he was to learn, how serious he was about that process. The whole thing, and humanizes him a little bit as well, to where it's like sometimes you just start thinking these people read stuff and it's just up there for them to recall at a whim. But no, this guy had to have a notebook, every once in a while to remember some of the things you know what I mean? Because you really almost deify them, because we just see the best parts of them with their best literature, that we read, and all the great deeds they did. But there were guys too. Put on pants one leg at a time, as Grandpa would say.
Here you go.
That's going to be to do that ceremony. Is really going to be in the temple, no less.
Yeah.
What a great atmosphere.
It's going to be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we're going to be in the asylum. It's going to be cool.
Yeah, there's going to be some real mojo on that in that evening in that room for sure.
Yeah, and to be honest, though, I mean, this is the ceremony itself. It's not long, but it's very meaningful, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is a perfect way to kind of end. If we have a good dinner, we have a lot of fellowship, and then this is the ending note. I think would be perfect.
But the thing that I love about it, regardless of what is said, where it came from, or the ritual itself, if it was a Joel P. Lightfoot original or whatever, those handwritten notes sat in that vault for, what, that had to be close to 100 years? No, probably not that long.
He died in 1950, and his wife had donated the papers right after his death. So they had been there for a good 70 plus years.
Yeah. And now they're literally being brought into reality. Those notes that Joel P. Lightfoot made, God knows when he wrote those notes on that piece of paper. Mm-hmm. And all through those years sitting in that vault, all that, is about to come to fruition at the Fort Worth Masonic Temple. That kind of stuff just like really gets me going. That's cool stuff.
Oh yeah. And actually, I guess you're right. When you think about it, the papers were there from from 1950, 1951, maybe, but a lot of the material in there was written, in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. So yeah, this could be 100 years old, and it's just been waiting for
to be manifested into reality. And some knuckleheads in Fort Worth are about to do it. It's so crazy that we get to do that. Dig around in a vault in the Grand Lodge of Texas. You know what I mean? There's some real mystical power to that. And you get you a ticket, you can be a part of it.
Yeah. That's the key. You got to get a ticket, because we're only doing it at this. Obviously, we're not going to discourage other folks from doing it, right? Because now that Billy's book has been published, it's out there, right?
Hell, we'll come help.
Something to keep in mind, right, is those were Brother Lightfoot's base notes, right? And so to fully flesh it out, you'll want to see the fleshed out version of the Festive Board.
Yeah. It's going to be fun.
Yep.
Well, folks, we hope that you've enjoyed this preview of what the Festive Board is going to be like. And we are super excited to have everybody in town. And it's just going to be great to see everybody again and to get to meet new friends. MasoniCon is a highlight of the year Masonically for me. And it's just going to be an amazing experience. So I'm super excited.
Okay, wait. All right, we ready to close this one down?
Yeah, I think
Sounds
so.
good.
I want to read that quote from JPL that I sent you guys from The Lost Word.
Sounds good.
Real quick by a JPL, and then we'll sign off. So it goes, despite the beauties that clothe it like a garment and the splendors that crown it like a diadem, the earth is full of shipwrecks, griefs, and graves. We build the world of today upon the ruins of the world of yesterday, and the feet of the living find no pavement safe on the dust of the dead. God, you're talking about romantic writing. God dang.
That's incredible.
You're gonna die, sucker.
That's less romantic, but yeah, I guess he gets the message across.
Dude, his penmanship is beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, this is Rhit Moore signing off.
This is Billy Hamilton signing off.
And this is Gabe Yagish signing off.